Hey, any woman who says that they strongly desire a man who doesn't want a woman, who just is comfortable in his space, about his business, doing his thing, like just in his aura, living out his purpose, being in his strength. Any woman who says that that's what they desire, that that's what they like, that's what they're searching for, you're corrupted. The Bible says that you're errant, because when God looked at Adam with his perfect eye of clarity, his perfect vision, he said, "It is not good for man to be alone." This is before sin entered the world, I might add. He said, "It's not good for man to be alone." And God didn't say he would come down and satisfy that lack in man and that God would be the solution. The Bible says that God decided creating something external to himself called woman would be the correct solution. External to God, but yet made from the side of man. In 1 Corinthians 11, I believe it says, woman was made for man. Man was not made for woman. The interesting thing is that women's default programming at the most core level has been tampered with by the devil. The fact that all women share Eve as their spiritual genetic mother, and Eve was the weak vessel that corrupted and cooperated with Satan and listened to Satan, conversated with Satan, had Satan's child, Cain, who murdered Abel. And then when you read the follow-up, how God chews them out, go read what God says to each one of them. Because when he speaks to the serpent, he says, "I'm going to put enmity between your seed and her seed." Begs the question, because the Bible always uses seed as the descendant, the lineage. So it really does. It's an abstraction, but it adds a lot of clarity to the story of Cain and Abel and Adam and Eve, and how the actual mechanism of action of how evil entered into our DNA. Here, Adam thought he was raising two sons, but only one of them was his. But it explains why when you meet people, there's this weird ratio of snaky to non-snaky behavior in everybody, And different people will corrupt in different ways. Anybody who thinks that you don't have a snaky behavior in you will just, how did you behave when you were a little child and your family asked you if you stole from the cookie jar or something? So I'm not trying to condemn people. I'm just saying it's just the reality. But as a guy who builds a lot of neural networks, I see the physical hardware layer is not the real constraints. It's the model, it's the neural weights, it's the actual neural network itself that is the important part. And technically you could make neural networks out of hydraulics. You could make them out of gears and pinions and mechanical. It doesn't matter the hardware level. It's the consciousness, it's the intelligence that lives on that platform that's important. Back to the women, though. It's wonderful to be seduced. If what you really should do, your only solution, honestly, from a data scientist point of view, is to get curious about this propensity that's so common in this current culture's females, and to get exploratory on it, and to do walk-back analysis, what the Bible calls a woman to be, and then to self-audit yourself. Women need to self-audit themselves and their culture and the kind of women they're producing in the next generation, and how this generation needs to ask themselves a question: how are we inspiring the next generation of women? And they need to honestly get out there and get exploratory. What is the cascading holographic fingerprint from your mom, Eve, cooperating with Satan? I'm not even trying to shame you or guilt you. We can't change that she cooperated. And I'm not trying to be sexist and say, well, it's a woman thing, not a man thing. All of humanity suffers when women are corrupted. So as a piece of humanity, not even in this video, I'm not even trying to champion a male cause. I'm just saying, as a piece of humanity, how can you best self-audit and self-explore and get curious to self-explore this holographic cascading through time, almost genetic propensity, concentration of cooperating with evil. You know, once you've listened, once you cooperated once, it gets easier to cooperate the second time. Once you cooperate the second time, way easier to cooperate the third time. When will human women want to get nerdy on this and do their own walk back analysis to what God has called a woman to be?